Chilly here with Sirius Dallas Moon Hour Jupiter night. Jupiter 7 degrees Leo, the moon has ingressed to 0 degree Aries, ascended at 15 degrees Taurus, midheaven 0 degrees Aquarius. I want to talk about Nederland's 1800 chart. Now, as many of you know that when we are in changing times, there are a lot of attempts to change regimes in all types of ways. I've talked about the role of extortion codes, or what we've seen, for example, as, let's say, the Epstein case. Oh, that's one. Ooh. As basically facilitating a rejuvenation of the people, whether it's aristocracy or business people. And the role of extortion in that sense is facilitated through, let's say, juxtapositions. Now, the role of these juxtapositions is, in essence, extortion, and it basically means that the people within those juxtapositions have very limited agency, if any. Now, one could prompt a question: what happens when a person that is establishing an agency begins to set a boundary, begins to say, well, I'm not willing to be activated, nor am I here to extort anybody, nor am I seeking for a scandal or any hidden things, let's say, nor am I a part of sacrificing the upper for the lower, or the lower for the upper. And this anomaly is something that I could attribute to two things that happen in the sky right now. One, Uranus ingressed to 5th degree, which is the degree of the royals. Regulus, Ketu, is with Regulus. And Rahu is about to ingress into 8th house of Netherlands. Pluto is 4 degrees, yes, retrograde, I believe. Yes, retrograde, in 8th house of 1800 chart Netherlands. So, my prediction for this: first of all, Uranus in the 12th house, royal degree, is going to give a little bit of a Uranian aspect to things that happen in the Regulian sphere. For example, Uranus in the 12th is not a planet that allows for the usual 12th house things to happen. What do I mean by that? Venus in the 12th could be, for example, a hidden affair. Uranus in the 12th, the immediate interpretation would be scandal, but Uranus is rebellious. And it definitely is not compatible for things that are hidden or even extortion. Why am I saying that? Because Uranus is about Kundalini rise. It's not about it. It does not tolerate sacrificing the upper for the lower for the upper. I know people that were born with Uranus Pluto aspects may experience it differently, and a lot of the tensions in the bodies, the tensions in the nervous systems, can be attributed to that because Pluto could control chaos. Uranus doesn't let things be too much under control, and it requires for a very profound authenticity. Okay, the way I explain Pluto is Swiss bank. It's not a tax haven. Every now and then, yes, every Pluto ingress or so, they deliver all the lists of everybody that has a Swiss bank account. so Pluto is not out of line with Uranus. It's just that with Pluto, things have more of a birthing quality. They're hidden at first, and then there's a baby bump. Uranus, to begin with, is not secretive, cannot be secretive, and is not, there's something very ahirarchic to Uranus. So Uranus in the 5th degree of anything give us an ahirarchic Regulian or an ahirarchic royal. Ahirarchic relations. Now, of course, if I think about, let's say, life energy intelligence, naturally polarity between sacrificing upper for lower, lower for upper, and not sacrificing upper for lower, lower for upper, is an immediate and something that is very hierarchical in essence, and something that is doesn't see position, doesn't see hierarchy, doesn't see, again, not from lack of, not from disrespect, but because it's Uranian. Naturally that goes. So my prediction for this is that we're going to see some ahierarchical frictions that are also Kundalini rise frictions, namely the polarities of the, how should I say that? The way that the bankers and the energy companies used to extort the elite, which is by the rites of passage that have to do with sacrificing higher for lower and lower for upper. And those that are completely not, you think about in normal situation, let's say dating situation, you would think about one person thinking, oh, do you have sex before marriage? And another person is like, what? Well, a willing consent is something that always has to be there, regardless of a ring at every single encounter, regardless of the setting. Before wedding, the laws of the country have to support basically sovereignty, regardless of gender, but also for even, let's say, something that is not of marriage, but is also body, heart, mind, and soul. So what was the question again? And that is the juxtapositions that Uranus brings, and depending on how it meets the world. Right now, Uranus is leaving a bisextile. It would be a mistake to interpret Uranus as in a bisextile. Okay, that 1 degree matters. It's moving on from a V6, and that moving on actually allows a certain friction to emerge. 5 degree, 5 is also a degree of change. It's a natural, if you look at water dynamics, stochastic patterns, nonlinear dynamic system, strange attractors, or astrologically speaking, Uranian dynamics is classic. It's there is nothing unpredictable about those things emerging at this stage of the world, particularly where everybody expects extortion, particularly where everybody expects things to go the way they went when Saturn Neptune met at 1 degree Aries. And now we're going to have Neptune there. And you can think about, Uranus degree 5 can simply be somebody coming from, if you think about immigrant situation, somebody coming from a country where they were a royal, and somebody coming from a country where they were common person, and they can begin to ponder about the different ways in which one's lives have occurred. Now, another thing with Uranus, don't expect Uranus to accept the Regulian as is, in the sense that the culture, or the civil society, or even the framing of the polarities, which relates to the fact that this is transcending settings of extortion. Don't expect that Uranus to behave in, how should I say that, in a rigid way about the Regulian. There is something inherently hierarchic with Uranus. Now, Uranus, every time Uranus is on degree 5, probably, I haven't looked into the previous times it was degree 5, but fascinating things happen because it's the degree of the royalty, and Uranus is a hierarchy. And Mercury, 21 degrees. Now let's take a look at this conjoining of Pluto going through 8th house with Uranus in, for basically the 12th house, and Saturn in the 10th. Pluto in the 8th, Saturn in the 10th can mean profound, rigorous changes that come from hidden, even esoteric or hidden energy. It can literally be oil and gas infrastructure, and it can be hidden esoteric changes that can bring about an ending of, a restructuring of, a cornerstone of a different type of governance, structure of rulership. So there are many hidden forces that try to shape the rulership right now in the Netherlands. Remember, this is the country where the ICJ sits. We also, if we take a look at the series Ares in Netflix, and literally the esoteric structure might not be one-to-one, is showcasing as a movie. So this is Pluto in its Swiss bank. At the part where Swiss banks say, oh, these people have an account in Swiss bank. Is Pluto Plutoing with Saturn ruling it in the 10th? Uranus in the 12th. 12th is not just hidden enemies, it's also hidden allies. Uranus in the 12th. 12th is also mental health. Gemini is a sign of speech, so the connection between speech and mental health. Yes, I ran into something like this today. No. Yes, no. And again, Uranus is like whoop, completely unexpected, stumbling upon something. Um, and now it is co-present with Mars. Mars is going to. Here's the thing about Mars. Mars rules the 10th house. So there can be some sort of either a loss, but with every 12th house loss, there can be a hidden gain. So it can be a loss of a conflict, even. For example, I don't know how much Netherlands was involved in the war with Iran, but now there's like, oh, there was supposed to be a big attack, and now it's postponed. So there can be a loss of a conflict in the sense of, oh, we're not going into, let's say, World War III right now. At the minute when I speak. But there can be a hidden gain. It can be a hidden conflict regarding or involving the leadership. Mars is applying to oppose Lilith. Lilith almost on the galactic center. This is a very yes. There is Mars Lilith combinations are not something that anybody can ignore. Lilith is the woman that would not be subjugated. In Sagittarius, she would not be subjugated spiritually, philosophically. Mars opposing Lilith. Mars Gemini can be very playful, although right now Mars is in a certain decision, or Mars is making a certain decision, but that decision has an opposition to Lilith, which means that there can be, I'm not saying kind of a mythos, because it's not giving scandal so much to me, something way deeper. And now here is the thing, Gemini is something like a stumble upon. Gemini is flirtatious. Gemini is a playful. So think about something flirtatious, playful, even childlike, running into 12 o'clock with the woman that would not be subjugated on the galactic center. Think about, I don't know, give me a cliche, Illuminati. Yes, so the woman that would not be subjugated in Illuminati. It is. Okay. um, now, and Now, here is another thing about Lilith. If people have been expecting a type of whoring of Babylon archetype, they are in for a big letdown. Good thing, bad thing, who knows? But this Mars is kind of playful, but it's also in the decan of Gemini where it has made a certain decision. and, and it's like, and it's 12 o'clock from where Lilith is at. I don't know, folks. And, um, yeah, I mean, now, Jupiter Leo, separating from opposition to Pluto, separating from trine to Neptune, co-present ruled by the Sun, Sun 10 degrees Leo. Sun has entered the decan of Leo where we transmute things. So there is something really profound happening in the kingdom of Orange. Now, this is also a republic monarchy, democratic monarchy. Like, I know that there are the official names, but this is exactly the point, that the structures are changing, and this is also correlating with the Aries return for Vogue, okay, for Dutch East India. Jupiter can also be around. I saw today there was somebody destroyed the put a skulls and bones sign, and said wrote human traffic on something that was a memorial for the war. Now, I was thinking, the Gen Z revolution, like, so many things can happen. So, but the Sun here is in the decan of transmuting things. Has a great capacity to heal, actually, and this is profoundly, like, I would not. If people expect a scandal here, they're in for a letdown. If people expect an archetype of, let's say, Whore of Babylon to emerge, they're in for a severe letdown. If people expect something to keep secretive, I think nobody expects something to keep secretive, I hope. But as an astrologer, Uranus is not in a place that allows for that. And if people want to say, are you going to talk about the neurodivergence of Byron? I have spoken about, before the Epstein ring drop, I have spoken about the fact that people that grow within this context are growing into neurodivergence as an inherent nature of the Rockefeller schools for the elite. Okay, the Rothschild Rockefeller schools for the elite. What is exactly the situation for Byron? I don't know. Is he neurodivergent? I wouldn't be surprised. Does it affect the litigation? In general, I think that classified technologies and targeting individuals do not exempt neither Baron nor his victims or alleged victims. And that's my 2 cents. I think anybody that watched my videos understands that position very well. Now, but as for Netherlands, it looks like something that is a deep transmutation of something. Now, what is the type of transmutation? Uranus here can go many ways. It's like somebody I know we have, yes, LGBTQ prime minister, and there can be the topic of LGBTQ can arise even In the royal family circles, again, I don't know if it exists or not, or openly discussed or not, but that is not an impossibility. I think it wouldn't be that dramatic for Netherlands. But in any case, the swiped under the rug Pluto things also have an esoteric energy. Okay, remember, just think about the fact that Regulian or royal figures are actually better with solar energy than oil energy, and indeed the oil energy infrastructure companies were in a very intricate relations, let's say, with monarchies. Okay, there's in control relations with control dynamics with royal families. It's downright okay. If we think about Rockefeller and Qatar. Um, um, Now, and then think about the fact that during war times, royal families are supposed to fight for oil. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are like, well, it's not the only type of energy. Um, Moon is a small portion of this transit because it's but it is on the world degree when this thing comes to mind. Venus in third house, Rahu going from the ninth house to the eighth house, meaning that in the coming 18 months or so, Netherlands is expected to go through profound transformations, purification of its esoteric traditions, of its hidden energy, of anything swiped under the rug, and then Lilith is going to join that eighth house, which is, like I said, I predicted a while ago that even, for example, 2024, Netherlands changed the sexual boundary violation rules to lack of obvious will and consent as a sexual boundary violation. And this was 2024. It was within 3 years of femicide. Now there is still ongoing conversations about this. Lilith is only going to accentuate things further. And I do assume that the red light district is going to be held to the standards of will and consent. And if we're going to bring in the let's say nervous system level, which is Aquarius, or the neurotoxins level, or the neurodegenerative level of sexual boundary violation, it's going to be a big discussion. And this discussion can be all the way from I don't know if there is inbreeding within the royal family. This is with Saturn still in Aries. Those conversations are definitely going to happen. Okay. Yeah, I'm just the astrologer. But also the deepest taboos, the deepest things that are like the most core inherent, because Pluto doesn't go through the eighth house every day. 240 years matter. And we're talking about the things that are the so deeply taboo being from the core revealed. And I think that this small transit of Mars opposing Lilith, with Lilith on the galactic center, is kind of a telltale. Like if people expect a Whore of Babylon type of scandal, they are in for a severe letdown. If people expect a extortion-based type of, they are in for something way more profound. But it's dealing with the taboo of the taboo of the taboo of the taboo of the taboos. I'm still listening to Annika Lucas' Dutch interview, and I have a feeling that I would need to listen a couple of times. Is it like, oh, another chapter of, let's say, Epstein drop or something like that? No, 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 no. This one, with this chart, way more profound. We saw, for example, with the US Sibley chart, Ketu going through basically Virgo, which is 10th house. Rahu in the 4th house. A lot of changes to the people of United States themselves. And a lot of changes, okay, to the nameless drops, but also where Ketu was in the 10th house. The entire leadership, red or blue. And now with Regulus, so and Ketu Regulus very likely will be profound. We're going to have a solar eclipse. It's going to be a full solar eclipse. In Netherlands, it touches on, well, the 6th house, but because it is Regulus, I'm not going to delve into charts. People are wanting to me for me to make a more, let's say, distinguished predictions. Not going to get into this right now, because I think that the Pluto 20 years in Aquarius and the Uranus going through Gemini matter more than the local. What's going to happen? This eclipse is kind of like, well, it's a solar eclipse. But Rahu co-present with Pluto and Lilith is the bigger issue. Another thing to keep in mind, I saw conversations that begin to say, particularly when we look at the Second World War, who was close to who. If we take a look at the Second World War in Europe, if you weren't France, and even within France, then you wouldn't be in the P5. And that basically means that, it's kind of like, what was there to choose from? Okay, there was Mussolini, there was Hitler, there was Stalin, and that was that how there's a known sentence by Mark Rutte. It was Prime Minister of Netherlands for a decade and a half, and I was Secretary General of NATO. Was, but the diplomat has to dance with whomever is on the dance floor. Yes, the people at the World War II had Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin. The amount of, you have no idea, I dodged right now an atomic missile to my nervous system trying to get me to say another name. So, it was an Iron Dome level of interception here. So, so we also have to think, realistically when we address those those issues. Now, at the same time, Like I said, Pluto not keeping the eighth house a secret is probably going to be the trend. Now it moves from the Saturn moves from the 10th house later to the 11th house, and we have a good 5 years before it reaches the 12th house. Uranus degree 5, co-present with everything that's happening in Leo. Double win for Dutch women hockey team. And more news. The government declared the Zionist regime as a detriment to the national security. Here half Israeli, half Dutch broadcasting from Israel. The Sevai from Israel. Well, you know, the housing crisis. um, yeah. Now, I think now here is the thing. What I think that the things that are going to be Saturn Aries, as usual, is nameless, but Mars is also action. Where will Mars be when Neptune is degree 1? Yes, it's but probably we will see Mars leading to degree 1. So you'll see Mars going from the 12th to the 1st. And basically we are likely to have in the coming months a argument over the identity of Netherlands. Now, 2.5 years ago, we had that with the desire to keep Netherlands small, the desire to deport versus other tendencies, and we're probably going to be having that argument again. There was a quest for banning dual passports, and then a lot of troubles actually for people that didn't get their passport because of some bureaucracy issues. Yeah, more things that arise here. Fifth house Ketu. No, second house, sorry. Second house Ketu. Eighth house Rahu. Second house Ketu means that Netherlands would be spending money. Netherlands would be letting go of a second house or dematerializing certain skills. It can be that it will be supporting something. There may be something new in the eighth house. Any type of government deficiency or government debt or GDP, passive income and passive and active debt is probably going to be discussed. I know that the cutting of or the issues of retirement pensions, the issues of the excess deaths that Netherlands, Belgium, had, I think, during COVID. And again, with Saturn in the 10th house, they're gonna know. It's gonna be a public discussion. It's not gonna be something that could be kept hidden so much. Would it be end of careers for some people? I don't know. There can be a change of regime. Again, due to probably the fight over the identity of Netherlands. So the coming 3 days, the moon will go over the 10th house. It will give us a little bit of a glimpse, perhaps into the eclipse. The World War or the War Memorial, Skulls and Bones and Human Traffic is the word human traffic is something that is fascinating. What is Skulls and Bones? I don't know if it's Skulls and Bones that painted that or Skulls and Bones that are targeted by that. Now, Skulls and Bones symbol is also associated with Vogue, okay, with Dutch East India. So discussions about human traffic, do they mean Dutch East India? It's a big topic, okay, because this mentioning of human traffic is something that is symbolic. There's a big taboo at every country, and what is the meaning behind this? I don't know. Also, of course, the definition of Zionist regime as detriment to national security would create a lot of polarities within Netherlands, and this can bring about. I remember 2.5 years ago the pictures of the ministers with the kippah. So this can bring about a lot of controversies, a lot of polarities. Particularly if we look at Aries and we look at the place of the tree of life and the Jewish esoteric with the element of sacrifice in high for lower and lower for upper. We look at esoterics that operates, that is essentially deriving from not just Hellenistic but also Judaic and pre-Judaic traditions, kind of like a weird combination between Baal and Isis or Venus or Lucifer, and the tree of life, which is Kabbalah, and this is a series on Netflix. Naturally, Netflix is a very dialed down, probably, of and this is probably going to spark a lot of deep controversies, conflicts. There are a lot of now. Mars also rules real estate. Saturn is old. There was I remember the occult observer looked at a certain building, and he said he doesn't know what is this building. There were this owl symbol with, or I don't know what more. And then people said it was an insurance company. People are going to begin to look at the real estate, the symbols on the real estate. Now, mind you, there is a housing crisis in all the world, In Netherlands also, there were the refugees from Ukraine. There are the ongoing refugees, whether it's since the 90s, whether it's since there is the quest to bring Dutchies back to Netherlands. There is the ongoing decay of both the public and private sector of housing. And people begin to look at real estate. They're like, what's that building doing there? Now, if you look at usually in Netherlands, there was a law that one cannot build over 3 stories up. They had to build the 3 stories because of the floods. Now, think about the fact that rethinking the dam, building another island, all of these changes are very compatible with the spirit of the sky. Saturn is a cornerstone, new structure. In that case, Neptune, an island, a new island. Pluto is allocating resources to build that island, and indeed Ketu about to go to the 2nd house, which is the investments. Yeah. So lots of things happening. Probably there's going to be a rethinking of investments. I know there was a big cheap deals. And yeah, the energy competitions that are ongoing in the world, and not just about oil and gas. Netherlands, of course, has great capacity for hydro energy. It can be absolutely Norwegian. So there might be even considerations and I think there's an ongoing plan to basically turn it into Norwegian. Yeah. More predictions. More predictions. Oh, okay. Here is a big tip for this chart, esoterically. The type of management where people activate people, there's something that calls to be very hierarchic here. And it's something very how should I say that? Something that makes a complete 180 shift from anything that would be handler situations. Why? Because Saturn is in sign of Aries, which is sovereignty, and is ruling over Pluto, which is occult, but it's also the hidden, yes, not necessarily only mind control, but also the activations relations. Now, aligning with sovereignty here in those things can be assisting even with issue around, let's say, the conflict around Israel. Why? Because the main conflict was a handlership conflict. Yeah. Okay. The core issue of what was the problem with Israel, it was what? Mind control. What's in the 8th house of Israel right now? The 8th house of Israel, the ascendant. Chiron. Chiron. But mind control, particularly here with handlership, to do with yes, what they call honeycomb, honey, honey pots, honey whatever. Yes, but ben geen honeypot. But this is exactly what is expected here, because it's the actual antidote. But this is going to require, like I said, the World War III is about not sexual sovereignty just to not rape. People want the good life. No sacrificing higher for lower, lower for upper, no approximation, no. I don't know if the world will be Christians in 200 years. Okay. So, with what I see this world war is about, I don't think the world would be Christian. All Christianity would become like Shiva and Shakti, which there are attempts to do that, which I think is smart. At any case, control dynamics even between religion and the people would no longer be. Where is something on the 29th? Senna. Ascendant Senna. Oh, the descendant was going through the 29th. I knew it. Because I usually don't say something with certainty that is that big. Without it actually coinciding with us. So the descendant was going all through my lot of divination, which means that there's a good chance that I was not just only now I had this eureka. It doesn't mean that the world won't be Christian. It just means that Christianity would look completely different. And there's something hierarchic here that is pertaining to that. Another thing I want to ponder about. So I said the handlership situations or agent activation is not going to be anything mind control based is not compatible. So it also means that let's say for situations that one was introducing between people and then was expecting to be a part of the equation, then both that introduction will no longer be secretive and will no longer operate on any of the cultural archetypes that do not align with what I just said in the again I'm thinking 300 years forward or 500 years forward. I'm thinking about after the next, I hope there won't be Inquisition, but after the, think about 1500, 1600 to 1602, then 1800. So I'm talking about that 1800. And if I think and I look at to the 1800, not just to the, in 100 years we're going to have the 1600. We are in the 1600. And the world, yes, before Vogue and after Vogue was not looking the same. For example, we had a baby called United States. A small, tiny baby which constitution inspired many of the declarations of independence after. So, this, what I said about no handlership, is going to be a very important antidote. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's not surprising for me that I'm the broadcaster and I'm broadcasting from Israel, being half Israeli, half Dutch, because Uranus operates like that. It's usually from where the problem came, the solution comes as well, not because of not because of owning the problem and the solution. This is more a Pluto thing, but Uranus is actually the dialectic process that happens within a nation. For example, Israel is not being able to stand the handlership relations that were not evident until, let's say, times of conflict. And then they're like, what's that dumb fuckery? Oh, that dumb fuckery is the reason I didn't. It's that reason that nothing worked with anyone. Okay? When it comes to moon compatibilities, then again, I think this is something, yes, to keep in mind, but I think a lot of the things that are to do with what I previously said are going to be assisting in resolving, let's say, a lot of the mess. At any case, how should I say it? At any case, there will be a mess. Like, Netherlands is going to be interesting to watch in the coming. Remember when it was 2023 and I said all eyes on Netherlands and I was not wrong? Then this is another one of these times. Now, it's not, Rahu is going to leave the 9th house, but I think he's still there for the solar eclipse. And yet Saturn brings Rahu from the 8th to the 10th. Netherlands will still be very interesting to watch, very important to watch. Dutch East India was the core of Western modern. People think about, Western, it was Hippocrates. That guy was more melanin. I know that there are Dutch melanin people, but how should I say that? If we think about the Western world, we don't think to. I know that there is some sort of Hellenistic stuff, but we think about Vogue. We think about Dutch East India, not just the colors of the flag, the traded company, the insurance, the life insurance for the ladies. Unfortunately, also the economic hitmanship, yes. And the fictional bookkeeping. And so the double bookkeeping. And yes, but also the foundation of the funding for a nation. The funding for what was then, people call it Gilded Age, but then it was Golden Age, or Gilded Age, or Golden Age. And back then it was maybe more of a realistic. I think a lot of the issue with Israel is between those who think, well, it is also this way now. Now, if you take into the account that people are incarnations of, I don't know, the head of Vogue, and they're thinking something, then it's like, well, perhaps perhaps they have lived it and are living it again. So I don't know, but there definitely is going to be a polarity between those and others. Now, some of the polarity is simply going to be about Israel, as is usual. Okay, in the United States it's Israel, in Israel it's United States, and the Israeli media was looking not nicely at Trump not bombing Iran. He prevented a nuclear holocaust this morning. He's threatened with a nuclear. Yes, so just not to deal with with the local problems. However,